Ukraine launched a wave of drone attacks across Moscow on Thursday as it continued to target the Russian energy industry.
U.S. President Donald Trump signed an initial deal with Iran as he attended an official dinner at the Palace of Versailles at Emmanuel Macron's invitation.
An Israeli soldier and a Lebanese individual have been killed following fresh fighting in southern Lebanon with drone strike and ground clashes.
Ukraine launched a wave of drone attacks across Moscow early on Thursday morning as it continued to target the Russian energy industry. In a series of posts on Telegram, Moscow mayor said air defenses had intercepted 180 drones approaching the capital, but that several had managed to strike a refinery in what he called a massive attack. It is the second time the refinery has been hit this week. The governor of Moscow region said a fire caused by drone debris also broke out at a shopping center in the southeast of Moscow and that another drone struck an apartment building. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the attack on the refinery in a post on X. Kiev has stepped up strikes on Russian energy facilities in recent months in what Zelensky has described as a just campaign of long-range sanctions against Moscow. Russia carried out its own attack on the Ukrainian energy sector on Wednesday night, targeting an energy infrastructure facility in the Poltava region.
US Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte have promoted NATO 3.0 with a stronger European defense at a meeting of defense ministers in Brussels. This doctrine aims at strengthening NATO by reducing Europe's dependence on the United States, increasing defense investments, and strengthening the industrial base. Mark Rutte reiterated the commitment to build a stronger Europe in a stronger NATO, while the Pentagon chief urged Europeans to take the lead to defend their own continents.
NATO 3.0 is post-Cold War recognition that it needs to go back to a real hardline military alliance that has real military capabilities capable of deterring right here on the continent and taking the lead for the conventional defense of Europe, which you have led on and other nations are stepping up to do.
Upon arrival, the NATO Secretary General welcomed the deal reached between the United States and Iran.
I think President Trump struck a good deal. It is important because what this deal does is degrade the nuclear capability. This is what the US did through this, basically from the end of February, making sure that the nuclear capability is degraded in Iran. The same when it comes to the ballistic missile capability, which is posing a threat not only to the Middle East, but also to Europe and other parts of the world, but also to restore the freedom of navigation.
Leaders of NATO member states will meet next month in Ankara at a critical moment for European security.
U.S. President Donald Trump inked an initial deal with Iran to end the war he waged with Israel on the 28th of February, as the two sides work on brokering a permanent agreement. The White House appears to have agreed to major concessions despite Trump marketing the deal as a great settlement. The initial framework, which takes immediate effect, calls for a permanent cessation of hostilities, eases U.S.-driven sanctions on Iran but doesn't outright eliminate them, and reopens the Strait of Hormuz. It also affirms a commitment to Lebanon's territorial integrity in the face of Israel's invasion and repeated attacks, despite an existing ceasefire in place. The deal also establishes a 60-day negotiating window to reach a conclusive resolution over Iran's disputed nuclear program, with the U.S. calling on Tehran to dilute its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. It's a dramatic step back for Trump, who for weeks has endorsed a hardline stance against the Islamic Republic and appeared unwilling to make much concessions to his war objectives. Those included ending Iran's ability to produce a nuclear weapon, destroying their missile and naval capabilities, bringing an end to their ability to fund proxy groups in the region, and at times even called for regime change. Trump said getting to that point was not easy as he put pen to paper on the deal while attending an official dinner at the Palace of Versailles at his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron's invitation. The deal was also signed by Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, who did not extend an official comment on its contents. Trump, however, warned that he's prepared to resume the war if Iran fails to deliver on its promises, noting that Washington will pick up where it left off if its goodwill gesture is not reciprocated.
The Israeli military announced on Thursday that a master sergeant was killed and 7 soldiers were wounded during intense combat in southern Lebanon the day before. The fatal clash occurred just as the United States and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding on Wednesday, meant to end the war that broke out on February the 28th. The agreement seeks to halt fighting on all fronts. However, an Israeli drone strike in the Kfar Tepnid region killed 1 person on Thursday, hours after the text was finalized. Israeli media reported that backroom negotiations are underway with Washington to maintain a military presence to protect the territory from Hezbollah threats. Meanwhile, Iran warned that any continued presence would completely nullify its deal with Washington, which took months of diplomatic mediation to broker. As the UN warns of a dire humanitarian crisis, the conflict has already displaced more than 1 million people, with Beirut reporting over 3,800 deaths since the invasion began.
Resource management, fuel prices, foreign competition, pressing issues for French fishermen and other actors in the maritime sector to discuss at their meeting in Cherbourg. In April, fishermen protested against high fuel prices from Normandy to the French Mediterranean island of Corsica. The recent peace deal signed between Iran and the US is giving fishermen hope for a decrease in energy prices. Fuel represented up to 60% of ship owners' turnover in May. In the English Channel, fishermen also have to coexist with aquaculture, offshore wind farms and maritime transport. Small fishermen hope the French coastal strip will soon be out of bounds to ships measuring over 25 meters. On the Atlantic coast, fishing might temporarily be prohibited next year in the Bay of Biscay to protect dolphins. Last but not least, fishermen are calling for measures to modernize and decarbonize fishing vessels.
This is a local election with national implications. On Thursday, 75,000 British voters in the Makerfield constituency in the northwest of England may hold the Prime Minister's future in their hands. The favourite in the polls for the parliamentary seat is Labour's Andy Burnham, Mayor of Greater Manchester. Should he succeed, he could challenge the leadership of the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, at the head of the Labour Party. Britain's parliamentary system allows governing parties to change leader mid-term, with the winner becoming Prime Minister without the need for a national election. Since coming to power, Starmer has faced electoral defeats and difficulties, such as the appointment of Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to Washington, a figure whose name is linked to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Despite this, Starmer has already warned that he intends to fight to remain at 10 Downing Street.
Well, I don't think there should be a leadership election. I think that the last government proved that parties that spend their whole time in leadership elections don't go on to win the next general election. I'm not walking away. I'm going to fight.
Before he can hope to move into 10 Downing Street, Andy Burnham will also have to defeat the candidate from the far-right Reform UK party. Results are expected in the early hours of Friday.
The first match day of the 2026 FIFA World Cup has come to a close after all 48 competing teams played their opening fixtures in a group stage that has so far produced a mix of expected results and upsets. Early Thursday matches saw Colombia bag an easy win in their opening fixture, with the Luis Diaz side scoring 3 past debutant Uzbekistan, who managed to put in their first ever World Cup goal. 3-1 it ended in Mexico City. In Toronto, Ghana produced a late 1-0 winner in their Group L match against Panama. The Black Stars secured a dramatic 1-0 victory thanks to a stoppage time strike from Caleb Yirenchi. And in what was, a doubt, one of the most entertaining matches of the evening, a star-studded England side signalled their World Cup intent, beating Croatia 4-2 in their group opener in Dallas. Harry Kane's double and a goal apiece from Jude Bellingham and Marcus Rashford ensured England secured the win. Earlier, Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo failed to score as the reigning UEFA Nations League winners drew against the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, in Houston. Congo, which was playing at the World Cup for the first time in 52 years, became the second African nation to make a strong start against the top European competition following Cape Verde's goalless draw with Spain earlier this week.
Welcome to the Health Security Operations Center that we've stood up in time for the World Cup. Anytime you bring people together, particularly when you bring people together from around the world, there is a chance that diseases will spread. We're trying to identify signals early, so we're able to provide early warning to public health professionals who are responsible for mitigating anything that's happening. So we will notify whether it's local, state, federal health partners as soon as we see something. They will then be responsible for mitigating.